From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper, and it is time for the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTime Angles Live. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great because it is Wednesday, and I got my main man, the sports radio, sports agent, aficionado himself, Mr. Mike Abadir.
What's up, Pop?
The great wine. What is it? What do they call it? The Central California legend right here. Modesto,
Central Valley, Modesto, Stockton area, representing the 209.
Modesto,
yes,
where people from Vegas and LA, when they have warrants, that's where they hide out at.
I will neither confirm nor deny that we harbor a few shady characters, Pop.
Hey.
Just a quick announcement. I'm extra slouchy today because of back spasms, but guess what? Nothing is stopping me from bringing the heat today. Nothing is stopping me from my love for this show. So let's do it, man.
Yeah, man. I'm still disappointed we didn't do Santa Anita before it went out, but we got the day after Christmas, though. I
definitely.
See opening day. I definitely be out there opening day. I'm really
unreal that we're already around the corner from that, but
I'm really kicking myself though. Our good friend Doug O'Neill wins the trainer's title and didn't win it. He destroyed it. So once again, shout out to Doug, man.
For big props to Doug O'Neill, man.
Big props to Doug O'Neill. Very, very good friend of mine. Doug is, and if anybody deserves to win a training title, it's him, because we know Doug has a lot of horses, but Doug is the common man when it comes to horse racing and horse betting. He's the one trainer you could actually go up to and have a good conversation with and not feel like you're bothering the guy. You know what I mean? Like, seriously.
Absolutely. Like, good trainer and an even better person, man.
Right. Great guy. But let's go ahead and let's get into it. I know Mike's over there excited about this because he was right on the money. The Braves go ahead and win the title. The Braves are now the world champions of all of baseball, even though some teams in Tokyo and some teams in Santo Domingo might have some say in that as well, too, if we had the actual World Series of, individual baseball teams. But all in all, though, much props to the Braves, and the way that the Braves closed it out was absolutely magnificent as well, too. They went ahead and they didn't just shut him out. They blew him away. They didn't, they didn't put themselves in a position at all to lose that game. Max Fried became a postseason legend. Also, the guy I think that's going to be a monster is going to get monster pay compared to what it was going into the playoffs is going to be Eddie Rosario, because Eddie Rosario, to me, him and Ozzie Albies are the main reason why this happened, because those guys were consistently on base and they were the ones that kept knocking in the big runs and things of that nature. And then, Freddie Freeman, the constant veteran and all that good stuff, he went ahead and did a great job of being a leader and being right there when you need him to be there. And you know what? Much props to the Atlanta Braves. I could say one thing about the Braves. I might have not have been so gung-ho about them when we got to the playoffs, but Mike, you can vouch for this. I was somebody back in July who said they still had a chance. I was a guy who said they still had a chance when they lost to Kuna. So I feel really good about seeing this Braves team win the title the way that they did, because they won it the correct way that what happens in baseball. A lot of us have to understand, when you're like the Dodgers and the Giants, you have you dominated everybody. So you've been in the playoffs for 2 months. That's a rare error in baseball. So you can either get tired or you can keep chasing somebody. And I think that back and forth was something that fatigued both teams. And then the Braves took advantage of a Mets team that literally got comfortable in first place, and then Philly got comfortable too, and they beat both of them up at the stretch drive. But we're both horse racing guys, and we both know that Atlanta made what we call the money move. When you get to the stretch drive, and then all of a sudden that rocket is up your ass. And that's exactly what the Braves did. And they went into fast forward mode and won themselves a World Series.
Spot on, man. I mean, look, anybody who looks at this team and doesn't realize the team effort involved here, from the general manager all the way down to the last player on the bench, isn't paying attention. Now, it's very easy to be like, hey, man, this is an 88-win team in the regular season. I mean, the Giants and the Dodgers almost won 20 more games in the regular season. I mean, that's a joke. But one of the things that I was kind of harping on during the year was, and I remember you kind of pushed back on me a little bit, Pop, was how many of those wins came against the Rockies and the Diamondbacks. I think that kind of puffed up the record quite a bit. I don't think they were necessarily 107, 106 win caliber teams per se, but hey, you got to beat whoever's on your schedule, so props to them. But bringing it back to Atlanta, 88 win team, they got hot at the right time, but you hit it on the head, man. They made the right moves. Do you know that they got 4 outfielders before the trade deadline? They picked up 4. I mean, that's almost like a revamped outfield. That's unheard of. I haven't seen a team ever lose and replace an entire outfield and then go on to win a World Series. But that's what the Braves did, man. So they're a very deserving championship team. And Pop, are you ready for the key stat of the whole series? Key stat. The Braves only gave up 2 home runs in the entire series to the Astros. And the Astros are the big bashers. They're the ones that are supposed to be the explosive offensive juggernaut. And they are. But the Braves pitching really, really came to play, and they delivered. They probably outperformed, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm not sure that going into next year, I'm going to view them as a World Series candidate once again. I think they need to add to their pitching staff. But this is baseball, and you could have a good 10-day period, 21-day period, and it's amazing. It's beautiful when it all comes together for everybody on the team at the same time. And that's pretty much what happened with the Braves. Big props to Jorge Soler. He came to play, 3 home runs. He's the MVP. He out-homered the whole Astros team. Freddie Freeman delivered. Dansby played a good shortstop. Austin Riley, Eddie Rosario, like you mentioned. I mean, Jock Peterson throughout the playoffs. So many guys contributed, man. It really is a team effort. And then the relief corps was fantastic. Hey, man, well-deserved championship.
Yep. And then, Jock Peterson, a lot of people kept asking me, like, why would the Dodgers get rid of Jock Peterson? Why would they get rid of Kike? The Dodgers have a $267 million payroll. They can't keep everybody. And Jock was somebody that the Dodgers already had on let's trade, and we're not going to resign this guy when his contract runs out because we know him better than the rest of the league. Jock Peterson is a great player, but he's one of those guys in the MLB. There's a lot of players like that came along like Jock Peterson. They're middling during the season, but when it comes to playing in the postseason, it's just they hit another level. And that's just what Jock brings to the table, and that's an amazing thing for teams that are looking for guys in a playoff picture. So now Jock Peterson has actually cemented himself as a guy at the trade deadline. If he's playing for a bad team, a contender will actually try to trade for you. I don't ever see him getting a monster contract, but I do see him being able to be on really good teams for the next 5 to 6 years as well, too. Props to Jock, man, because the guy's been to 4 out of the 5 of the last World Series as well, too. That's absolutely nuts. And props to him on what he did. And I think that you're on to a good point. I think that having the Diamondbacks and Rockies was kind of like something that kind of messed up both the Dodgers and the Giants, because you had 2 bottom basement teams. But all in all, the National League was a terrible, terrible league this year. You probably had the best division when it came to wins separating each other and being competitive all season was the NL East. And I kept mentioning that to you, that anybody could win a division. At one point, the Nats were even looking good. You know what I mean? So their last place team wasn't that far away from their first place team. And when you run into a tough bag like that in the MLB, sometimes it really helps in the postseason. The Braves took advantage of that. It was beautiful to watch. This is why we love baseball, because baseball is not promised to the team that's the most talented. It's not promised to the team that spent the most money. It's promised to the team that gets hot at the right time and takes advantage of the opportunities that are put in front of them and make the least amount of mistakes as well, too.
Well, using that logic about the difficulty of the division, the competitiveness of the division, hey, man, it's never too early to talk about 2022. Look out for the AL East. Obviously, they get a lot of coverage. I'm not saying anything totally original, but, man, just a quick reminder to everybody. Besides the Baltimore Orioles, every team in the division was a 90-win team. I don't ever remember 4 teams in a division winning 90. Every team was above 91. Amazing, right? We're talking, of course, about the Rays, Red Sox, Yankees, and Blue Jays.
Right.
So just to keep it in the back of you guys' minds out there, maybe since this is a show for the players, I don't know if there are wagers out there that you could find odds on what division will produce next year's champion. But man, if anybody can find good value on the AL East, or throw it, pick a team, use a dartboard, pick one of those 4 teams, you have a decent chance.
I wouldn't put.
But I like your logic, though. What's that?
I wouldn't put the Blue Jays in the World Series yet, but I know that they're going to be a really good team next year. And the Rays will regress because they got some pitching issues coming up next year. They got guys that got Tommy John surgeries and things coming up. And I think more than likely that they're going to be more of a seller next year, with a lot of big pending contracts coming up with a lot of really talented players. So I don't know how the Rays are going to respond to the offseason too much, but I know one thing, and one thing's for sure, and that's one guarantee: Yankees versus the Red Sox. And it's going to be a absolute holy war. I tell you this because Carrera wasn't even out the locker room yet. He walked away from, I guess, a press conference, something of that nature, and he said, "Hey, Garrett, I'm on the way." And we know the only Garrett that is simultaneous with the Astros is Garrett Cole, the ace of the New York Yankees. And knowing a guy like Carlos Carrera, who comes from South America, from the Dominican, that he's been thinking about being a Yankee since he started playing baseball. So, hey, if the Yankees can add Carrera into that infield, oh boy, now they got themselves a consistent hitter, but a guy who's recently won a championship as well, too, that can go ahead and bring his good juju, good mojo to that dugout, just like his former teammate Gary Springer did for the Blue Jays, who got 20 plus more wins because they had Springer, in my opinion. Think about that.
Yeah. I don't mean to correct you here, but just to be accurate, Carlos Correa is Puerto Rican.
Okay.
And I think there's a good chance he is a Yankee. But let me ask you, does that solve their pitching woes? I mean, That was the main problem for them last year. The other problem was that they weren't a very good base running team. They didn't have any team speed. Curry is a good athlete, but he's not going to solve either of those issues that they've got in terms of team speed and in terms of being able to give them some innings.
Well,
I think that's the main problem that the Yankees are confronted with. And I'll be honest, I haven't looked at the free agent crop for pitchers. I don't know who's out there, but I think that should be priority one for the New York Yankees. One other thing I want to mention, I think the Rays are going to be okay because do you remember at the end of the season, they called up some guys that were like literally like top prospects, but that no other team in the right mind would start them when they're trying to clinch the division or when they're in the playoffs. And the Rays did that with these guys who had like 21 lifetime innings and stuff. They're guys, the names aren't that familiar around baseball, but insiders and scouts know how good they are. I think these guys are going to come up and again show why the Rays have the best organization in all of baseball.
Really?
I think so. Absolutely.
How many world championships do they got again?
Hey, look, man, look at how many front offices have Rays people.
Right. I just think that they're great.
And look at the payroll.
Minor league talent. I think that's what they're good at, Mike.
Hey, look, if you were to go on a ratio of dollars spent per win, the Rays would obliterate everybody, followed by the Oakland A's.
But it's not a consistent every single season situation though with them. They're having a good moment right now, but we both know the Rays have had their times where they've been absolutely god awful as well. Too.
Yeah, but how many times in a row have they been in the playoffs?
No, but I don't know how you're gonna do it with three young pitchers to get back to winning 90 games next season. You would have to depend more on the bats to be great, and they got to have the pitching be great for the batting for everything to kind of coincide with each other. I just don't see their pitching being the same next year. I think it's
we will see. I think you're undervaluing what they've got, and as a Red Sox fan, I would say that they should give mad respect to the Rays because I think the Rays are going to be my favorite to win the division again next year.
Well, they definitely won't be mine, but all good, Mike. What you call it? Agree to disagree. You know what I mean?
There you go.
I think that more than likely that the Jays will probably have more wins than them next season.
Wow. Okay.
The Jays should be the team to look out for because they're the team that if they can keep Robbie Ray, if they say, okay, if they figure out a way to keep Robbie Ray, they're in good shape in that department. And if they're able to say maybe add,
I think they're in good shape even without Robbie Ray, man.
If they are able to add, say, one of these pitchers that is pretty decent, pretty good, but is about to hit the market and things like that, I think they'll be fine. They just need to add a veteran or two, and I think that the Jays will be in good shape coming into next year. I think that they just had to learn how to win first, and now they've learned how to win. Now it's time to grow up. You know what I mean? So I like it. But let's go ahead and move forward, and let's go ahead and talk about last night, and it's the state of the Lakers. And pretty much we have ourselves a true, real problem here in Los Angeles. Lakers did win the game last night. It wasn't impressive. If you go ahead and you put the math together on the last quarter they played, the last half they played against Houston on Sunday, then the first half, Houston was able to get 120 points to the Lakers 100 or so. So pretty much that was not – I know that's a weird stat to call out, but it just showed me that the Lakers, if you come back around a second time, that they're not playing that great a defense, and Houston just had a bad shooting night, to be honest with you. They had a lot of free throws that they made, but they didn't make a lot of shots that night either. And I think that the Lakers, this team is very, very close to a big disaster moment. They're going to be fine at this point because they got the next 9 out of 10 games at home. But I think that they need to start cutting. I think they need to start moving guys now. Not cut, but try to get somebody back for people. First and foremost, I think that DeAndre Jordan is absolutely – he played well last night, but I just think that he's an absolutely non-fit on the Lakers. I think that Dwight Howard's being a little bit too demonstrative and being a little bit too goofy and not being an NBA vet. He's still acting like a 19-year-old. And then the person that really irked me, it was happened last night. I don't know if you watched the game, Mike, but Kent Bazemore is a role player. Kent Bazemore sat up there for 5 minutes yelling and screaming at the ref until he finally just gave him a check when he hit the bench. And I said, see, you're a role player that's not a high-end role player. You're a guy that we just need to do certain things on the court. So you don't need to argue with the ref that long. If whatever the ref called, let it go. You're not a superstar. You're not any of that. You're just a role player. Why do you need to argue with the ref for the next 15 minutes about something just so you can get a technical and disrupt the game and give them more points? This is bad. That's
selfish
bad
behavior, Pop. Selfish.
Yeah,
selfish behavior.
Well, Frank Vogel is not doing anything about it. Frank Vogel is just sitting there. I'm happy to coach the Lakers. They got to get this thing together one way or the other. And it's just bad. And, Westbrook, Crip walking down the court. Come on, man. That's just, I know everybody got a good laugh out of it, but come on, you're a professional. You're not a gang member, dude. Don't do that. Don't play with that situation like that, because we got a lot of ignorant people. And I'm very, well-versed in gang life. And that's a violation, as we would like to say. You know what I mean? He's a professional athlete. But, if this was the 90s or something, this could be an issue at, say, when you go out to the club or go out with your family or go out to one of these inner city, get-togethers that you guys get for the kids and stuff like that. You can't play with that like that. And the kids are looking up to you as well, too. That's something not to play. Even LeBron said, LeBron tried to be cordial and cool about it, but he even was like, that was a bit much. You know what I mean? And I think they need to focus on being a better team than trying to play to a crowd at Staples Center, because the Staples and the Laker Nation is not comfortable with you yet. You need to start win games, and you need to win games by a lot, and you need to look good doing it. And you guys haven't done that at all at one point this season to me, at all. Maybe Sunday night, and then they still found a way to be bad in that game. You know what I mean? So they got to fix this, and they got to fix this ASAP.
You laid out a lot of issues, and I think all of them do need to be addressed. I think the coach's position is, this is a veteran team. I'm going to let them police themselves. And I think there are times where you kind of have to just rein it in, even with vets, right? Westbrook not only is disrespecting the game, but he's really setting a terrible example out there, and it's not professional. Like you said, it's unprofessional. Could you imagine Magic Johnson doing that? Or Kobe?
Right.
They respect the game too much to do that. So, look, I've never been a big Westbrook guy. I think he's a great guy to have on your fantasy basketball lineup, get you those triple doubles. I'm just not a Westbrook guy. I know a lot of people down here love him because he went to UCLA and everything, but I don't know. To me, him and Harden are very selfish players, in my opinion. Those aren't the type of players that I like to build teams around. That's just me.
And you know what, Mike? He said selfish, and I totally agree with you, because I said that when Magic got a triple-double, it really meant something, because Magic was out there diming, rebounding, and scoring.
He was elevating the team, right?
Right. And Magic's 6'9". So when Magic's playing on defense, Magic wasn't really playing the guard as much as people think he was. Magic was playing more people in the post and people down low.
Exactly.
So he can be right there to get that board. If it's him or Kareem or Rambis, it's going to be one of the three to get that board. And Magic, you saw the impact of a triple-double, and that triple-double will usually wind up being a 30-point blowout. It wouldn't be a game you win by 2 points. And then when I saw Westbrook consistently doing it back to back, and you sat there and watched the game, he had to do 50 million things for that to happen. He had to kind of pad his stats a little bit when it comes to the rebound. He has to steal rebounds away from his teammates. He has to steal assists away from his teammates. He has to steal points away from his teammates. So literally, you're playing against the other team and your team. But you think you're doing a great thing, and everybody in the everybody who watches the NBA were fooled. They were thinking, "Oh my God, he's doing something we've never seen before." Yeah, we've seen it before. It's called ball hogging. We've been and Westbrook plays like the kid that plays on the team that is he can only really move on the team that is worthless, where you don't have anybody that's gonna really get in your way. You know what I mean? And they love what you do. But when you put him on an all-star situation with a LeBron and with an AD, with a Harden, it's just implosions. Even KD, it didn't work younger in his young career, and he felt like they held him up from going all the way through, getting a triple double all the time, But the thing was, though, those players were super talented, and he had to be more of a complimentary player with those guys. And if Westbrook plays like he did back at UCLA, he could be very special for the Lakers. But if he continues this OKC, I was the MVP of the NBA 5 years ago ball, it's going to be an utter disaster having him here. And you might as well just move on from the situation, because it started to get a little bit uglier by the day, in my opinion. You know what I mean? He comes out there, he's the most demonstrative person on the team. Okay, ref makes a bad call. He gets pulled out the game. He's yelling and screaming. He's going crazy. Everybody trying to give him a high five, calm down, good job. He's just, get away from me. I got to sit down. I couldn't play with a guy like that. Can't even sit in the same locker room with a guy like that, because it's always about you and not about us, the team. And you have to understand, when you're a Laker, it has to be about the team. It can't be about you. You know what I mean? I think everybody got this bad perception because all those years of Kobe being able to do what he wanted to do, but that wasn't the truth. Kobe had other people who were also very critical to what the team was doing, especially when they were winning championships. Come on, you can't give him all the credit all the time. You can't give Mark, and I say stop giving Paul Gasol so much credit. The credit, once the second in line when it comes to the Lakers' success when they won those back-to-back titles and went to 3 straight finals, is Lamar Odom.
Mm-hmm.
At the end, y'all don't want to talk about Lamar because Lamar had off the court issues after. But we all know that this thing doesn't go without Lamar Odom. This thing doesn't go without Andrew Bynum. You can't just keep putting it on 2 people thinking that they were the only ones that contributed anything to this. You know what I mean? And that's what the biggest problem with parade watchers are. Like, they don't get it. They only want to see parades. Real Laker fans, they want to see consistency, looking good in games, dominating games. But we know that it's going to be hard to get to that point with a team that does not know each other.
Look, one of the things that you can identify very quickly to know whether you have an unselfish team is how they play on defense. Because you have to, defense in the NBA requires teamwork. You can't be selfish as a unit and have a good defense. If you've got a good defense, it means you have cohesion, chemistry, and unselfishness. Everybody plays his role so that the defensive scheme can do its thing. Right now, the Lakers are 3rd from the bottom on defense, but they are the most highest scoring team in the West. 3rd from the bottom in the West in terms of points allowed. So that kind of tells you something. The scoring the points, and when you have Westbrook on your team and other guys that can shoot, can dunk, can play the perimeter, can do it all offensively, let's just say, you're going to lead the league in points like the Lakers are. But you're not going to be able to play a good defense unless you're unselfish. And right now, that is the glaring weakness for the Lakers.
And honestly, it just keeps directing right back to one person, number 0. That's it. He's the total opposite of he's not total opposite of anything. It's damn near like when you had Kobe the last few years. I know a lot of people ain't going to want to hear that, with me saying that, but we know that Kobe's best days were well beyond him. And he was being sometimes a hindrance to the team, but still shooting 40 shots a game. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to talk about a dead man like that or anything, but come on.
You're talking about him on the court only, right?
I'm gonna talk about him on the court. And you know, I was, and the thing about Kobe is I will always say this, and I don't care what anybody thinks, because I've followed Kobe's whole career. Kobe was always the Lakers' gift and the curse. He was a gift because he was young, he was anxious, he was ambitious, and he was a winner. He's the curse because he really alienated a lot of teammates. He really disrupted a lot of good things that the Lakers had going, so he could still be, because it wasn't his way. And I still get real mad about the Andrew Bynum situation, how that was handled. A lot of real Laker fans still get mad, but still can't get over the fact what happened with Shaq. And all these things led back over to this person right here. And good thing Westbrook doesn't have his control like Kobe did over the franchise. You know what I mean? He's just more of a rental player, more of a guy that's been an addition and things like that. But somebody that does have some say, like Kobe does, is LeBron, and he's the one advising these silly ass moves too. You didn't need Westbrook. You could have let him just trade for Buddy Hield. Carmelo actually was somebody that was needed to play with LeBron this year. So the old men could finally have their chance to play together. If Bird's back didn't give away like it did, and say the Celtics moved on and Magic didn't catch what he caught, hey, we might have could have had Bird on the Lakers. I know it sounds like blasphemy, but if we put today's world in that world, I think Bird is a Laker at some point. You know what I mean? Just because how much Magic can just be, I just need you in the corner just to shoot. I don't even need you to play defense. You know what I mean? So, you know, you look at those things and you say to yourself, you're happy to see Carmelo actually performing, because he knows if he doesn't play well, they're going to send his ass down the road. But Westbrook can be awful all year, and they're not going to move along from him because they're holding on to what he used to be and not what he is right now. The Lakers are going to have to fix that, and I really, really, really hope that the Lakers do understand that this can be very detrimental towards any goals that you guys have this year if you don't figure out a way to move on from Russell Westbrook.
100% agree with everything you said, man. I guess one last thing to say about Kobe. Kobe was fascinating because he was a different kind of cat.
Right.
He didn't grow up the same way that a majority of NBA players did.
Right.
He grew up probably more similar to the Euros than the athletes in the NBA. He didn't grow up in the same neighborhoods. He didn't grow up with the same monetary issues. He didn't have any of that. He was a prep school guy. He was in Italy. He's a Renaissance man, soccer player, going to prom with, what was her name? Brandy. I mean, it's very, very different upbringing than any of the other people. And he didn't really go out of his way to endear himself with the guys. Didn't go out to the clubs with them. Well, obviously before he was 21, he couldn't anyways, but he didn't party with them. He didn't do anything to bridge that gap. He was just himself, and that's who he was. And you can flip it around and say maybe those guys didn't do anything to endear themselves to the youngster either. But ultimately, it caused some rifts. I don't know if it takes away from his greatness. I wouldn't call Kobe Bryant the ultimate team player. I think Kobe Bryant was a great NBA player, one of the greats of all time. But I wouldn't call him necessarily a great team player. He was always capable of it. But like you said, especially towards the end, he felt that he had to carry the team. And that just says he doesn't have a lot of confidence in the talent around him. So interesting stuff. There'll be many, many books written about Kobe Bryant as the years go on. But I've always viewed him as an intellect and a Renaissance man above anything else.
Right, and I totally agree with you on that one as well too. I think that Kobe is very much a one of one.
Yes.
We can both say that. And that's why I get kind of a little irritated sometimes when they say, "Oh, he's just like Kobe. Oh, he's just like Kobe." What?
Nobody's like Kobe.
Nobody's like Kobe. What? Him playing basketball and him being able to hit a pressure shot. I said, damn, you can go all the way back to the 70s and be like, damn, he's like John Havlicek. You know what I mean? Kobe wasn't the first person hitting pressure shots. Okay. So, and he ain't going to be the last. So, pretty much, it is what it is at the end of the day.
I've seen Kobe fooling around with a soccer ball. He's probably too tall to play soccer, but if he was kind of within the range of a soccer player, he would have been a tremendous soccer player, man.
I
He had a lot
believe
of skills. We'll never find out, but
I
I've
believe
always
it.
thought about that. He had a very, very soft touch on his passes, strong kick. Just from my eyeballing what he was doing on the soccer field, a lot better than like Ocho Cinco, who tried to give it a shot as well to play soccer, but he was very unpolished and kind of rough. It wasn't smooth.
Yeah,
He was relying on his speed more than anything else.
because where you gonna play soccer at in the hood over in Liberty City? Come on, man. Chad was used to playing soccer over on the concrete and stuff like that. That ghetto soccer is different from real soccer.
Well, again, that brings you back to Kobe. He grew up so differently. He grew up in Italy.
Right.
Spent many of his development years in Italy. So it just shows you how unique of a player Kobe Bryant was.
Yes, Kobe was he had a lot of things going for him that a lot of that was very early. Now the common NBA player honestly they might not be overseas, but they are coming from more of a upgraded atmosphere. They're not chasing the guy that is the hood hero, the kid that is from the projects and his mom works 3 jobs and things like that. They're not drafting players like that no more. Those guys barely get into college now. They might let you go to some MAC school or something like that and get to tell you a little story and stuff. But AAU costs money, a lot of money. And you got to have coaches that really believe in you if you don't have the money to play in AAU as well too now. And those coaches are now making the greatest big sacrifices. And I've seen coaches in a decade ago when I was coaching, I seen coaches literally put these players before their own actual children, you know what I mean, to enhance their brand, their model, and we say that they can be the guy that, oh, I got Mike Abadir Jr. into the NBA. That guy was on my team. You know what I mean? His dad.
They were more than just a sponsor. They were a sponsor and an investor.
Right. And honestly, two people that are products of that as well too. People that had their back, and it's rare now. You have to be really good. LeBron and Iverson, you know what I mean? Because if LeBron doesn't have the support system he had other than his mother, I don't know if we know LeBron James, you know what I mean? And Allen Iverson, for sure, the gentleman that played a part in his life, the great Boo Williams, one of the greatest coaches I've ever met, who's an amateur coach from Virginia. He believed a lot in him and Michael Vick and Ronald Curry. And these guys, they came from very meager homes and things of that nature. And especially Iverson, a guy who used to miss school at least 2 months at a time, if it wasn't, and even during the football and basketball season, he just couldn't go to school because he has to take care of a sister with special needs while your mother's out in the streets. You know what I mean? So, it's different now. They don't want too many more sad stories anymore. Now the NFL, they still go about things because football is almost like football is a meat market. Let's be honest about it. They only got 4 or 5 guys on the team that are really prized. And really, there's only one prized possession most times, and that's the quarterback. Everybody else is up for sale.
Everybody else is replaceable, man.
Everybody else is replaceable, up for sale, can be cut. You saw what happened with Henry Ruggs, cut in 12 hours. If Derek Carr was there, we would have tried to figure out some type of story. And I'm not trying to compare the two, but his position on the team is a little bit deeper than Ruggs' position on the team, because you can go down the street and go, you easily can go replace a wide receiver. You can easily go replace a running back, and pretty much makes these guys just moving parts in a sense as well too. So that's what a lot of people just have to understand, that there's different ways to go about things, but the NBA nowadays, with the international players coming in, they have to go with more guys that have a little bit, that they can sell a little bit better and won't be doing crazy things like being in the club at 4 a.m. and partying it out with all the rock stars and stuff like that. Those days of the NBA are over. You got to go hang out with guys like LeBron at Taco Tuesday and go home. That's what you got to do nightly in the NBA. You can't
Pretty
be
much
a party animal. You see James Harden parties, everybody gets mad at him about it. Hey, it makes some guys play better. Just like they said, some guys who used to smoke weed, it makes them play better. I knew a guy when I used to play basketball heavy. I knew a guy, he was really good when he got drunk. So,
some people, their focus actually gets a little bit better.
Right. So the old days of the NBA, some guys needed those little extras to really be good players in the league. But now you have to be a really great player to be there. You know what I mean? You can't have any extra adhesives because you have so many people watching you and making sure you're good and making sure your mental health is there and all that good stuff. So it is what it is at the end of the day. But with that, we took a while, so we'll be right back. We're gonna talk some betting though, Mike. The Stephen A. Skip Bayless hour is over. Okay, segment of the show is done. So when I get back, we're gonna talk some Mac at night, Wednesday night, and then we're gonna get into the NBA tonight for the 5 games I have posted here as the notes that I have and everything. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles Live, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, and Mr. Mike Abadir, and we'll be right back.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
Yep.
We're back.
Yep. Hey,
We're back.
Back in full effect. KLJO. I'm waiting for it, man. I think that I don't know, Mike. Mike, we'll talk off air, but I want the best with you real quick. How do we get Sirius FM on the phone, man? You know what I mean? I think we need to take this thing to satellite radio. We can figure something out, man. Mike, you got the connections. Make the call. And I'll do the rest.
We should hit up Mad Dog and get on his network, which has all his shows on Sirius.
And Mad Dog, Mad Dog, he picked me up. He'll let me come here.
There you
go. I wouldn't mind living in New York. I'm telling you, honestly, the 2 times I've been to New York has probably been the best trips I've ever been anywhere. You know what I mean?
Was that to go to Madison Square Garden for boxing or something?
Well, I went for the Canelo Takes Over New York event where he fought the European Rocky. That was a big deal. His first fight on the zone. And then I also went to one of the biggest nights ever in heavyweight boxing when Andy Ruiz upset Anthony Joshua. So, yeah, I was there for some boxing events, but I was able to enjoy the city both times, and I just love it. I just need to get out of Manhattan a little bit more, you know what I mean? Because about 75% of both trips were spent in Manhattan. But when I got to Brooklyn, I was like in love, you know what I mean? Like Brooklyn is such a cool place, you know, but I know that I went to Brooklyn like it was later at night, so you know you kind of still need to watch yourself a little bit. It doesn't matter what they gentrified in Brooklyn. There's still people that they Brooklyn people are Brooklyn people. You know what I mean? So, you know, but in New York, you'll have it to where people still walk down the street with each other. You know what I mean? And you got 10 people walking down the street loud at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
It took me back to my teen days and my early 20s where we would come from places like Old Town Pasadena, walk all the way back to my house or something like that. And we just 12 of us loud, walking down the street, goofing, you know, so it's all the good stuff. But let's get into it. Mac Wednesday night. It was a good night last night. We hit 2 out of 3, Mike. We got the cover in the Akron game. We got the over in the Eastern Michigan game. And then Ohio got the win, but they smoked the under last night. At one point, they were up, I think, 28-0, and then guess what happens? Miami of Ohio drops 33 points in like 16 minutes. So, yeah, but they still won the game by 2 points. So, it is what it is. But Mac Wednesday night. And all right, so with the Mac Wednesday night, the first game that we have up here is going to be a really good one, Mike. It's going to be Northern Illinois against Kent State, and the line is looking like this. We have the first place team as the underdog, and then we got Kent State, a team that's kind of been struggling a little bit this season, as the favorite. This is kind of a tricky situation, but I think that Illinois is being overlooked because they didn't have the big expectations. And me and you both know that when you have a road game in the MAC, it's tough. It's tough to win road games in the MAC. It doesn't matter how good of a team you actually are in the conference, and it doesn't matter how bad of a team that you're going against. It's going to be a tough game, regardless of anything. So we got a spread of 3.5 to Kent State. Plus 170. We got the over under of 70, which has crept up to 1 now. So when I look at this game, and also the money line is dipped down to plus 150. So it opened up as a plus 4, Mike. Now it's starting to get bet down. And when I look at everything here, you have Northern Illinois team that is in good shape to win their side of the division, but they had to get through games like this first. And last week, they won a nail biter against Central Michigan. So, you know, this team has some things working in its favor. They're 4-0 in the conference as well, too. So this game is huge, and they're going against a team that plays in the East Division as well, too. So this one is going to be different. You know what I mean? They're going against they're going against the Kent State team that was good a few years back. You know what I mean? And I don't know about this year, but they have won their last 3 out of 4 games. So that does kind of work into that does kind of work a little bit for you right there. You win your last 3 out of 4, and 2 of those games were on the road as well, too. So they get to return home where they won their first 2 games fairly handily, and they got a good win over Buffalo as well, too, a team that's still pretty good in that conference as well. So I think that this is one of the better matchups of the whole MAC schedule this week, and this game is going to sort out some things as well, too, at the end of the day. So, you know, Kent State, number 1 in the East, and we got Northern Illinois, number 1 in the West. So this should be a damn good game tonight.
I'm all about Northern Illinois and the under. Northern Illinois is 68.8% against the spread this year, almost 70%. Kent State is about 38% against the spread. And I think this over line is really high. I think it's a little bit too high. I know that these teams can put up some serious points, but I'm gonna take the under here. The under is my stronger play, but I'm gonna take the points with Northern Illinois.
All right. So we move on and let's talk about a battle between two arch rivals, Central Michigan and Western Michigan. You got Central Michigan coming in here plus 280, Western Michigan minus 390, minus 9, over under 65.5. But do not be fooled by this spread at all or the money lines or anything like that, because there's been let me give you a good little situation. This happened years ago, not 10 or so years ago, but maybe about 5, 6, 7 years ago. It was a day after Thanksgiving, CMU playing Western Michigan, and this is when Fleck was just now getting to Western Michigan. They had became a very good team at the time, and they were winning a lot of games that season. But Central Michigan was such a stalwart that I said, hey, why don't I go ahead and take this plus 250 money line on CMU today? And they won the game by like 20 points. So that has always told me that, when you got a MAC game, do not take the spread or the money line as serious as you would say, probably a Pac-12 game. These games are wide open. I like to say these are pick'ems. So if you can get yourself in position to get a plus 280 on CMU, then why not? You know what I mean? But this is a tough game tonight for both teams because you don't want to do too much on either side. But Western Michigan has been the dominant force in this series the last few times out. So that's why they're getting a lot of love, and they still have a potent offense there as well too. This game is really tough to pick a side. So I really feel like scoreboard watching. Both these teams average 29 points per game. They're not that far apart when it points against. They're only 9 points apart. And then both of these teams are actually almost getting 500 yards a game on offense as well too. But then you have Central Michigan, the better passing team, and Western Michigan, the better running team. So this will wind up being one of those games where you have to keep your head on a swivel because any mistake can possibly work well against you. So I'm looking at this. Both teams are both coming off of a loss. Central Michigan's loss was a little bit closer than Western Michigan's loss, which was an upset last week against Toledo, who have been struggling. So when I look at this one, I am like you are in the first game, but I'm not picking a side. I like the under more than anything here. Your thoughts?
Yeah, to me, I lean towards the under, and I lean to taking the plus 9. But in terms of my money, it's probably a sit back, watch, see how it plays out. I don't have a very strong opinion on either side, one way or another. My leans are slight. And for teaser players out there, maybe you try to get that 9 plus 9 up to plus 15. Maybe try to get that under 70, 70 and a half, 71 and a half on the tees. The one thing about over-unders in college that always scare me is overtime. I've had a few where I nailed it, a low-scoring game, but then overtime killed it. So always beware of OT. I'd maybe take a quick peek at the MAC games and see how many have gone into overtime. But like I said, I don't have a strong opinion one way or another, Pop.
I got you. This is one of them games where Mike would not be paying attention to it in the book.
Unless I'm scouting a player, for business purposes, it's probably a non-watch.
Let me tell you something, though. Even at your favorite place, Caesars. Oh, yeah. Central Michigan, Western Michigan. I was there in Vegas last year for the game. And, that Mac at night gets intense because we're all looking for the over. We're all looking for these kind of would feel like are sure things. You know what I mean? With this thing. Because sometimes they set the line up like 1.5. And you go, and it's like, dude, this team's 5-2 going against a 1-7. And then you get the game. The 1-7's up 21 points at halftime. Then they figure out a way to try to lose the game. The MAC is nuts. The MAC is nuts, but it does produce some great NFL players as well.
For sure.
You gotta love the MAC. The Raiders' best defensive player is from Eastern Michigan, Max Crosby. And I saw Max at Eastern Michigan. He was an absolute monster, and he made that team somewhat feasible for a team that was one of the worst teams in all of college football for a good 5-year run. I think they maybe won 3 games, Mike, in that stretch. They were losing bad, too. They were like losing to Marist and stuff in the non-conference games. Like, dude, you're that bad? But nobody's as bad as UConn and UMass. Oh, my God. Dude, those teams, they were awesome when they were in the playoff situation in the other division. But them being a FBS, that they need to really think really, really hard about returning back to the FCS.
Agreed.
All right, so let's go ahead. I love this. It's my favorite sport. I love the way the ball dribbles up and down the court. It's NBA Wednesday night, and it's always a good night. We got 11 games in the association tonight. And up first, we have the Cavs and the Blazers. And the Cavs and the Blazers coming into this one. Both teams are kind of trending towards different paths right now. Blazers, as usual, start of the season, slow start. Cavaliers, though, started 3 7-footers the other night against the Lakers, and it was amazing to see because these were all 7-footers that can move around. They're not robots. And Evan Mobley, I don't care what anybody says, they can love their little guards as much as they want to. Kay Cunningham, Jalen Green, Scotty Barnes, but the best rookie in basketball, and if they had it like the old days, like in the 90s, he could possibly be an all-star if they still voted that way. Evan Mobley. And I do not know why this guy still did not go number 1 to the Pistons. I don't know why the Pistons thought they needed another guard, but Evan Mobley is going to make all those teams that passed up on him pay. And he might be the biggest superstar with the Cavaliers when it's all said and done since LeBron. You know what I mean? He won't ever outdo what LeBron did for the city. But the Cavs are on to something, Mike. And let me give you my notes on the game real quick. You got the Blazers 0-2 against the spread versus the East. Now, and straight up as well, too. They're 3-4 against the spread and straight up total on the season. So that's just their record is what they are betting wise as well, too. They're 3-4 over and under. So they've went under in 4 out of their 7 first games. And then they're 3-3 as a favorite this year on both sides against the spread and straight up. And then they're 0-3 on the road this year. And 2 of those losses are to Eastern Conference teams. Then you got the Cavs, 2-3 straight up, 3-2 against the spread versus the West. And we know that a lot of those wins have came in the last few games as well, too, beating the Clippers and the Nuggets back-to-back. And then we have a 5-3 against the spread. This is a very good sign that the Cavs are turning the corner right now as well, too. They're not going to be the same pushovers they've been the last few years since LeBron left. They're 3-5 when it comes to over-under, so they went under in 5 out of their 8 games. They're 5-3 against the spread as an underdog. So literally each game they've been in, they've been an underdog, and they're 2-1 at home as well, too. So the Cavs looking good tonight, and I will go ahead and I'm gonna. I don't like to give it to him, give you guys the bet before I get to talking tickets, but I just can't resist. This will be my dog of the day, Mr. Abadir, and there it is, plus 170, but I'm gonna get plus 150, or not plus 150, but plus 170 on the Cavs tonight as well, too, plus 175. So there it is, brother, and that's where I'm going with that one. I love the Cavs tonight in this spot.
This is one of those rare occasions where we are on opposite sides. I love the Portland Trail Blazers here. This team dominated the Cavs earlier this year. Back in May, they beat them by 36 points, 141-105. In February, they beat them 129-110. So a 35-point win and a 19-point win. I see much of the same. Give me the Blazers minus the 5.
All right. All right. You know we in a new
It's too
season,
many
though,
links
right?
to make up. Too many
Right.
links for the horse to make up.
Man, but dude, you know we're in a new season, though, right?
Agreed.
You still that's like looking at a race from we got a brand new beat going at Santa Anita. It's like looking at a race from all the way back, but it's cool though. I know what you think you hear. The Blazers have had their way with the Cavaliers the last few meetings that they've had, and it looks like it could work out like that. But the Blazers are not playing good basketball at this moment right now, and they're not playing good roll ball either. But this is the type of get back game that most teams do strive for and look good in. But if you've seen the Cavs play, Mike, I'm telling you, dude, it's different. It's different. And when you can put out 3 7-footers as starters, that's awesome. And then you got 2 6'1" guards, speedy as ever, polished as ever. They both can shoot, they both can drive, and they both make a lot of things happen. So the Cavaliers are a team to watch out for that's on the up and up. That's all I got to say. But let's go ahead and move on to our next game in hand. And this is going to be one that is going to be very one-sided for the Celtics. This is going to be the Celtics and the Magic tonight. And in my notes in this game right here, the way that I have it is you have a Celtics team that's outright just ugly right now. They are not playing good basketball at all right now. They're 2-5 on the season. They're 1-4 against the East. They're 2-5 against the spread. They went over in 4 out of their 7 games as well too. They're 2-2 on the road, and they're 2-4 as a favorite this year as well too. The Celtics, it's early, but I think that we're at the wits end with the Tatum Brown duo. One of them has to go because they are scoring a lot of points, but they're not including their teammates in the process as well too. So have your eye out on that. Boston's probably going to be making a monster deal within the next 2 months or so. We got the Magic 1-5 versus the East, 3-5 against the spread, 6-2 over and under. They've been nothing but a dog all year long, but they're 2-6 straight up as an underdog, 3-5 against the spread, but they're 0-2 at home. So this is something that might work for the Celtics tonight in the sense to where they're going against a very weak team. So what are your thoughts?
Celtics have kind of the same dynamic as the Lakers in that they're one of the best scoring teams in the league. They're giving up 119 points a game, man. Worst defense in the conference, statistically speaking. The Magic don't have any scoring magic. They've been very feeble in terms of scoring points. Their defense has been okay, middle of the road defense. To me, I don't like big favorites on the road unless they're good teams. And right now, the Celtics are not playing like a good team. So for me, this is a no-touch game until the Celtics right the ship.
Gotcha. All right, we're going to move on, and we move on to which is probably the matchup of the night, and it will catch a lot of people off guard. That's going to be the Raptors and the Wizards. Raptors coming into this game 5-3. Wizards are 5-2. Both these teams are playing absolutely, unexpected basketball, but you know what? They got the players to win basketball games with. And once again, these are these scrappy teams that are very deep with a lot of different players that have a lot of different skills. And I think that Kuzma and Trez have been an absolute godsend for the Wizards over still having Westbrook, because they didn't get anything from the Westbrook Bill situation till later on in the year. But it was a headache throughout the first few months of the year because the Wizards were bad to start off the Westbrook era, but they've been good to start off the former Lakers with Brad Bill era. Former Laker champions at that as well too. And they have, and what I'm looking at here is you got a Raptors team that's 5-2 versus the Eastern Conference. So they're doing very well against the East, and they're 4-4 against the spread. They are also 4-4 when it comes to over and under. So they split that category, but this is a key stat. They're 3-2 as an underdog, and also they're 3-0 on the road. All dog plays as well too, Mike. So that gives the Raptors somewhat of an advantage in the spot. But one thing that the Wizards got working for them, they already have a win over the Raptors this year. They beat them 98-83 on opening night. And then they pretty much are 5-2 versus the East as well, because they haven't played anybody but the Eastern Conference. They're four out of their 7 games have covered, and also 4 out of their 7 games have went over. And then they're 1-0 as a favorite. They've only been a favorite one time this season, and they're 3-0 at home. So I like what I see here, but I think that this, when you look at how the game will shake out, even though they've played each other already this year, and a lot of people say, well, the Wizards should beat up on them again. That was opening night. Now they've gotten a little comfortable with each other. Scotty Barnes has proven to be a very good asset for the Raptors. I like the Raptors with the spread tonight with the plus 3.5. What are your thoughts, Mike?
Completely agree, and I'm going to double down on that. I'm going to take them straight up on the money line. The Raptors are 8-2 in their money line plays in the last 10 games against Washington. I repeat, 8-2 as the money line play out of their last 10 games against Washington. Give me the Raptors with the points, and then another one with the money line. Get a little insurance with the points. Make your dough with the money line. That's where I'm going with this one.
All right. Like to hear that type of stuff. We got the Hawks. Nice little dog tonight on ESPN going against the Nets, both 4-3. Hawks 2-3 versus the East, 3-4 against the spread. They've went under in 4 out of their 7 games. They're 0-1 as an underdog this year, and they're 1-3 on the road. So they're struggling a little early on the road, including a loss to Cleveland. So, pretty much is why I keep saying, don't sleep on the Cavs, Mike. Don't sleep on them, brother. It's like you sleeping on the Mariners. Don't be sleeping. Don't be sleeping. When Pop tell you, I ain't going to just throw these teams out here and say they good, just say they good.
You got to give you props, man. You pick the doggy dogs.
Man, it all goes back to what you put on your notes. Like, literally, I give you a little inkling. I do, like, literally, when I watch a Laker game, I take down a lot of notes on what happened in that game. So that's why, I can go ahead and I pay attention to everything. I don't listen to broadcasters. And when it comes to stuff like this, I try to be as keen as possible and keep looking at that scoreboard nightly. And how does the scoreboard reflect? It doesn't really matter what line it's going to be and over and under. What's the scoreboard saying on a nightly basis? You know what I mean, brother? So,
Yep.
You'll figure out these spots, and just like we do at the track, man, sometimes a 20-1 to come in and he said, man, I looked at him 4 times, but I just wasn't interested. But he came in. But you had an idea, hey, he might be able to do a couple things, but I'm just so far-fetched and so just on my Flavian and Pratt Peter Miller connection that they're not going to be beat. So why? Even though you know the trainer personally, and he might have told you, man, well, the horse needed a race or two, and pretty much, but he's still 20-1. We're in the claiming race, dog. And then he comes through. It's a claiming race, dog. It's wide open. Like every race.
In this claiming race, it is not as wide open as maybe Hawks fans want it to be. I think the Nets get a little bit of healthy. They get to prop up the record a little bit. Let's just put it to you that way. I think they kind of laid the wood to the Hawks, take advantage of the Hawks' poor road record at 1-3. Trae Young maybe stayed up a little bit late celebrating the Braves championship, as well as the rest of the team. I'm going to go with the Nets.
He might be a little sad, though. He is from Oklahoma, so he might be a Houston guy.
Maybe
he
so.
May be a Houston guy.
He did send out a tweet of congratulations to the Hawks. To the Braves, but that's usually what they do when they play in the same city, right?
Twitter, Mike, you know this stuff. I got my attention, just like your boy Pat Mahomes. Just every time something happens, I'm here. But you notice he ain't been tweeting nothing since he's been looking so bad. So And what a sad sight when he was with his brother and his wife, and she's being annoying, he's being annoying, and he's just came off of just the worst game of his life. The guy is concussed, and you guys are just over here spending up all of his money on nothing. So pretty much, but here goes some notes on the Nets real quick. 4-3 versus the East right now, 3-4 against the spread. They have went under in all of their games this year as well, too, in all 7. They're 4-2 straight up, 3-3 against the spread as a favorite, 0-1 as a dog. We all know that was opening night against the Bucks. And then they're 3-2 straight up, 2-3 against the spread at home. So you may be able to get a Nets win, but you might get a Hawks cover tonight. That's how it's feeling to me. But I think that we ride the hot hand and we just keep going with that under. Because the Nets ain't scoring, man. Harden's not getting 30 points anymore. It's like 16, 17 a game now. So there it is. So we move on and let's go ahead and talk about the Clippers and the Wolves. And the Clippers and the Wolves. Yeah. And it's like that. Clippers and the Wolves. All right. So I wouldn't be surprised seeing a Clipper crip walking down the court, though. You know what I mean? Doing something. Clippers, I'm going to tell you now, Mike. It's a return to the basement, Volume 3, wow. The Los Angeles Clippers 2021 season. Back in the basement.
Wow.
And then we could go ahead and show all the Clipper basement banners over all the years, because pretty much in the 40 years they've been in Los Angeles, 37, whatever, they probably had this is probably their best era ever of winning in Los Angeles. You got to give them their props. They did it for a good 10 years, but now it's time to go back to the basement. You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen without Kawhi here. You know what I mean? It's not going to be a dominant run like they want it to be. Losing Pat Beverly was huge, even though he had to go. Regardless, sometimes you need your bully, your dog, your fighter still there with you, because that spirit kind of gravitates to the rest of the team. But since they want to run this square biz thing and think that they're like the Lakers, hey, you got to deal with the consequences, right? So when I look at this, you got a Clippers team 2-4, Wolves 3-3, Clippers 2-3 against the spread versus the West, 2-4 against the spread in total, 1-5 over and under. So they've only went over one time out of their 6 games. 1-3 against the spread, 2-2 straight up as a fave, and then 0-2 straight up, 1-1 against the spread on the road. So it's not looking good here early in the season. Wolves 2-2 straight up, 1-3 against the spread versus the West. Then they're 2-4 against the spread. Then they've also went under in all their games this year as well, too, which is 6. They're 1-0 as an underdog, 1-3 against the spread, but 2-2 straight at home. What you thinking, brother?
Just for the sake of expediting things, since we've been on for about an hour and 15 minutes, this is a no-touch game for me. 2 teams that aren't playing very well, and I wouldn't park my money on either of them.
Dang, Mike, what's wrong with being on my show? You've been on my show for a bunch of times for a long time. An hour and 15 minutes. What, you got a hot lunch?
I actually have a meeting coming up, but I just figured I don't want to be too wordy on a game that is kind of irrelevant,
Right, but don't worry, we got 90 seconds left, brother. You know what I mean? We just go talk tickets, and I'm gonna let you go. Am I part of the meeting?
Actually, I need to circle up with you afterwards, but yeah.
Am I part of the meeting too? Nosy people like, am I in the meeting? Yeah, we got to talk to Mark about signing our receiver. Keelan Doss.
Well, man, we need to see Waller back in the mix because Carr needs some targets, brother.
And see, everybody's whining about not getting to shine, but Mike, you're an agent. I'm a capper, and I try to think like a GM. Can you guys just just live with the fact that people get old. That's the reason why wasn't performing well with the Rams, because he just couldn't get open. It's not the same. It's not 15 years ago with the Eagles, dude. It's different
No,
now.
they
It's
saw a
different.
little bit of a flash of the old Deshaun on one big play this year, but he's a shell of his old self, man.
Right. And he did that against a weak Tampa Bay secondary. And then I think the other one was against another weak secondary, what was the Bears. So it is what it is at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was exciting and he got to do it in LA, but that doesn't warrant him getting a contract with the Raiders because he did that. And then you don't want to bring people like that into the locker room that the Raiders are trying to create. You know what I mean? You're not trying to bring in me, all about me. You know, the Raiders are trying to get away from that. And right move, you know, they thinking more about the pending lawsuit that's gonna have them a part of it as well too. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But Mac at night, Mike's favorite burger over at McDonald's, probably the Big Mac. What's Mike's favorite burger at McDonald's? Real quick.
I'm being very honest. I have not eaten at McDonald's in about 25 years.
Boo. We're total opposites with that. I had McDonald's like last weekend. But I understand. Mike probably went to Venice Beach too many times and all those old T-shirts with the cow getting his head cut off and people forewarning you about McDonald's. But knowing Mike being from Central California and being from Modesto, he probably went into one of the Modesto McDonald's and shit just didn't go right that day.
Man, because I'm from the Central Valley, I'm all about hitting up the taqueria. Give me a nice carne asada burrito.
Yeah, I know. And then because it tastes the same everywhere you go to.
That's what I'm all about, man.
Right. So we got Northern Illinois plus 150 tonight, under 65.5 with the Michigans, Central Michigan and Western Michigan. It's a 4-1 ticket, Big Mike. And then we have the NBA Super High 539-1 tonight. And we have ourselves the Cavs as the dog of the day, plus 175. The over 212.5 with the Celtics and the Magic, plus 3.5 with the Raptors. And then the under 220 with the Hawks and the Nets tonight. And then, I'm doing it. I'm not betting the Clippers. Wolves, home team, plus 105. Let's go ahead and see how it shakes out and make some money off that. So that's my Talkin Tickets right there. And Mike, what you think?
Well, where's your can you put that graphic up again?
Oh. Okay.
I wasn't sure if you had the points or the money line on the Cavs. So, hey, man, that's the key right there to this payout, to get almost 40-1.
Right. And then you got a 4-1 going as well, too. You hit both of them, you're in good shape. But you got to spend a little bit more on the two-teamer.
Sure.
But it's all good, brother. It's all good, 20 gets you 800.
There you go.
You know what I mean? 20 gets you 800. I ain't into sure things. I'm into paying the rent. I'm into getting people vacations and stuff like that.
Hell yeah, man. I know you're going to deliver this weekend for the Breeders' Cup on Friday and Saturday. Can't wait.
I can't wait to give you all your 2 winners and 2 exotics.
Looking forward to it.
The Breeders' Cup is hard, brother. It's hard. And
especially those races on the grass.
Right. And I don't like being the guy that's popping champagne over a 1-2 winning. You got to give me a price. And I'm not even satisfied when I hit a 9-2 at the Breeders' Cup. I want the big boy. I want the take charge brandy.
Yep.
I see. You remember that one?
Yeah, I don't. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't want the Chad Brown 1-2 on turf.
Yeah. Dude, take charge brandy. I think she went off at 75-1. Dwayne Lucas, too. They totally overlooked the horse. Dwayne Lucas used to run Santa Anita. Like, dude.
Dwayne Lucas has been overlooked for a decade now.
Right.
And
dude.
And he pops, man. He pops every once in a while. Popped in the Preakness and popped in the BC, popped at Churchill on any given day. Oakland. His winning percentage is not what it was. So he's overlooked, which means you get juicy odds.
Right. And he doesn't. And you know what? He's a victim of having those good owners that have passed away too.
100%.
Really rich owners that love horse racing, not the crooks that come and go, fly by night. Big Brown. All right, Mike got to go. Mike has to go make me some money real quick. $2 million. I want $2 million, and I want a $500,000 signing bonus for whoever is trying to sign me to whatever you talking about. Okay. All right.
Done deal, Pop.
Tell the Lions I need $2 million and I need $500,000 in a duffel bag before noon Friday. If they really want me to go up in there and play defensive line for them on Sunday.
Shit, the Lions need 10 of you, man.
If they really want me to go ahead and protect Jared Goff, then they're going to have to send me $500,000 in a Nike duffel bag.
They need 10 of you.
I know. They need 10. They need 15 of me. They need me just to be the general manager. I would love – that's the one job I would love to take on in the NFL because, you know, the GM better than me, I'd have already fired Campbell. Campbell would have got fired at halftime in the last game, bro. And I talked to a Lions fan. He's like, stop it. I'm like, dude, your coach sucks, bro. I ain't never seen a coach this bad in the NFL. I've seen coaches that were much better get fired. Mike, you've been around the game years.
But Bob, have the Lions ever had a good head coach?
Wayne Fontes and Jim Caldwell.
How long ago was that? Barry Sanders' time period, man.
Jim Caldwell was a hell of a good coach too, and they ran him out the building, and he had winning seasons. Yeah. That's why Detroit fans, I don't get it with you guys, but you wanted to sit up there and say Patricia was good because he was one of Belichick's guys. He was always awful. He's another guy that had no business on the sideline. He had a sexual assault case as soon as he walked into the building.
Belichick disciples don't usually do well when they branch off.
But not at all. Only one I could say that did well, in a sense, is Variable and Romeo Cornell. And Romeo Cornell did well because he was able to be with Parcells. He was a part of the game. You know what I mean? Charlie Weiss didn't do well, but he was always a good offensive coordinator, though. But Notre Dame was too big for his britches, in my opinion. And then Kansas was almost like, let me go somewhere where they'll let me just coach a football team for a while. No. Kansas want immediate results if they're going to pay a big-time coach. But it's Kansas.
Yeah.
They're the worst. All right.
It's not basketball.
I gotta let Mike go. He keep looking to the side. Raiders over there with the schedule for the day for him. And, you know, Raiders
he keeps pointing at his wrist for the time, right. You
know? Raiders getting antsy right now. He's looking at his paperwork, and Mike has a 1:30, so, you know, we got to go. All right, so as always, it's a pleasure, Mr. Abadir. Thank you for coming in and talking with us today. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, live with the one and only Pop DBIC, the Primetime Capper. And once again, the sports radio, sports agent aficionado, Mr. Mike Abadir. And we thank you guys for tuning in. And you guys make sure to listen to us tomorrow at 4 a.m. Pacific time, p.m. Mike, why not the AM, brother? You know what I mean?
If they asked me to do it AM with you, I would do it AM with you, man.
Right, but they got to drive us. But we would have to do the AM over at Del Mar.
Yeah, that sounds good to me, man.
Bum rush the TVG set.
One of these days, we'll have to do a 24-hour gambling marathon together.
I don't know how that's going to work, but we'll figure it out. All right, so there it is. Thank you guys so much. And once again, we appreciate you. And make sure you guys tune in for that Breeders' Cup special tomorrow so you guys can get them winners. All right. So I bid adieu, Mr. Abadir.
Thank you, my friend.
So much. And we are gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production,